Marcus Decroix adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and pulled his baseball cap lower over his graying temples. The man who owned 7 high-end restaurants across the city had never felt more like a fraud than walking through the polished glass doors of Meridian, his flagship establishment. Tonight, he wasn't the celebrated restaurateur whose face graced food magazines. Tonight, he was just another diner with a reservation under the name M. Davis. The familiar scent of rosemary and garlic hit him as he stepped into the warm amber lighting. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across white tablecloths. Pride swelled in his chest. Even after 12 years, Meridian still took his breath away. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" The hostess Sarah smiled professionally. She'd worked for him for 3 years, yet showed no hint of recognition. "Perfect. Davis, party of 1," Marcus replied, deepening his voice slightly. As Sarah led him to a corner table, Marcus scanned the dining room with the critical eye of someone who'd built his reputation on perfection. The servers moved with practiced efficiency. Wine glasses sparkled under the lights. This was why food critics from 3 states drove here, but that wasn't why he was here tonight. 3 weeks ago, Marcus had received an anonymous email that made his blood run cold. "Your staff thinks you're a joke. They're stealing from you, talking trash about you, and treating customers like garbage when you're not around. Come see for yourself. M. Davis, Friday 8 p.m. The message included photos from inside Meridian's kitchen, blurry shots of staff on their phones, a server apparently spitting in food, and his head chef pocketing cash from the register. Marcus had stared at those photos for hours. Were they real? Photoshopped? He built Meridian on trust. The idea that it was all a lie felt like a knife twisting in his gut. "Can I start you with something to drink, sir?" Marcus looked up to see Jennifer, one of his most experienced servers. She'd been with Meridian since the 2nd year. "I'll have the 2018 Cabernet, please." "The Napa Valley one." "Excellent choice. Our sommelier actually recommends pairing that with our dry-aged ribeye if you're considering our steaks tonight." Marcus nodded, impressed. Even undercover, his staff was delivering exactly the service that had earned Meridian its reputation. Maybe the anonymous email was just some disgruntled competitor. As Jennifer walked away, Marcus let his eyes wander the dining room. At the table near the window, a young couple shared what looked like their first date. An older gentleman at the bar was deep in conversation with Tom, the bartender. Everything looked perfect. A soft thud interrupted his thoughts. A folded napkin had landed silently beside his bread plate. He looked up, but Jennifer was already walking away. Marcus glanced around. No one seemed to be watching him. With trembling fingers, Marcus unfolded the napkin. The handwriting was Jennifer's, but the words made his heart stop. "This is a setup. Cameras are rolling. Don't react." The napkin felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Marcus forced himself to keep his expression neutral, even as his mind raced. "Cameras? Set up for what?" He took a sip of water, using the motion to scan the room more carefully. That's when he saw them. The man at table 8 had what looked like a button camera on his jacket. The woman near the kitchen entrance kept glancing at her purse, positioned at an odd angle. Even the businessman with the laptop, the screen was angled just wrong, like he was filming rather than working. Marcus' throat went dry. How many were there? And why? Jennifer appeared at his elbow. "Have you decided on your entree, sir?" Her voice was perfectly professional, but when their eyes met for just a split second, he saw something there. A warning, maybe even fear. "The ribeye sounds perfect," Marcus managed. "Excellent. And sir," Jennifer leaned slightly closer, pretending to collect his bread plate. "Whatever happens next, remember that some of us are still loyal." She walked away, leaving Marcus with his racing heart and 100 terrifying questions. The warm atmosphere of his beloved restaurant suddenly felt like a trap. As he sat there, Marcus caught a reflection in the window. Someone was filming him from across the room. The anonymous email hadn't been a warning about his staff. It had been bait, and he'd walked right into it. Marcus forced himself to cut his steak with steady hands. Now that he knew what to look for, the signs were everywhere. The businessman's laptop screen showed a video feed. A woman near the bar had a pen that looked like a recording device. A child's laughter from across the room made him look up. And that's when his world tilted completely. In the far corner booth, partially hidden behind a decorative plant, sat a man Marcus had thought was deceased for 7 years. The same sharp cheekbones, the same piercing blue eyes, the same scar running from his left temple to his jaw. Damon crossed. Marcus' fork clattered to his plate. He couldn't look away from the ghost sitting 30 feet away. Damon looked older, grayer, but unmistakably alive. He was wearing an expensive suit and watching Marcus with an expression that mixed triumph with cold, burning hatred. When their eyes met, Damon raised his wine glass in a mock toast. Marcus felt like he was drowning. Memories crashed over him. The fire at their original restaurant location 7 years ago. The investigators telling him that Damon's body had been found in the ruins. The funeral where he'd stood over an empty casket and grieved for his former partner. But Damon was sitting right there, very much alive. "Is everything all right, sir?" Jennifer appeared, her face a mask of professional concern, but her eyes held a warning. "Don't lose it." "Fine," Marcus managed. "The steak is excellent." She nodded and moved away, but not before sliding another napkin onto his table. Marcus waited before unfolding it with trembling fingers. "He's been planning this for years. There are at least 12 cameras in here, plus a live stream. Whatever you do, don't confront him directly. Play normal. Play normal." How was he supposed to play normal when the man he'd watched buried was orchestrating some kind of elaborate revenge plot? Around him, the restaurant continued its evening rhythm. But now he could see the cracks. The couple by the window weren't on a date. They were both subtly filming him. The older gentleman at the bar was holding what looked like a professional microphone disguised as a phone. This was a production. A documentary crew. Marcus' phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Enjoying your dinner, old friend? The real show starts in 10 minutes. Hope you're ready for your close-up." 7 years? Damon had been alive for 7 years planning this moment. Another text. "By the way, your staff has been very helpful. Amazing what people will do for the right price." Marcus looked up to see Jennifer approaching with the dessert menu. As she set it down, she whispered without moving her lips. "Whatever happens next, remember, not all of us sold out." Written on the inside cover was a single sentence. "The real show starts when they make you look like a monster." Suddenly, Marcus was back in their cramped office above their first restaurant, 28 years old, arguing with Damon over expansion plans. "We can't afford 3 new locations, Damon. The numbers don't add up. That's how you build an empire, Marcus. You think the big players got where they are by playing it safe." But Marcus had refused to sign. He'd seen too many restaurants crash and burn trying to grow too quickly. That's when everything started falling apart. Damon had gone behind his back, using his shares as collateral. When Marcus blocked the expansion, the banks called in the loans. Damon had lost everything: his house, his wife. Their last conversation had been explosive. "You ruined me!" Damon had screamed. "I've got nothing!" "You went behind my back," Marcus had replied. "You forged my signature, lied to investors. You brought this on yourself." That's when Damon made the accusation that destroyed everything. "You're stealing from the till. I've been watching the books." The accusation was insane. But Damon had shown him doctored receipts, manipulated bank statements, carefully constructed evidence. The fire had happened 3 weeks after that confrontation. By the time the fire department arrived, the building was a total loss. They'd found a body in the office, burned beyond recognition, but wearing Damon's watch, his wedding ring. Marcus had blamed himself for years. If he'd just signed those papers, maybe Damon would still be alive. Except Damon was alive. And that meant, Marcus' blood turned to ice. The fire hadn't been an accident. The body wasn't Damon's. His former partner had staged his own death, probably killed some homeless person. The insurance payout would have covered Damon's debts, and given him enough to disappear. 7 years of guilt. 7 years of building Meridian as a monument to their lost friendship. All while Damon was planning this moment, Marcus looked up to find Damon standing, walking slowly across the dining room toward his table. The cameras tracked his movement. Other diners were starting to notice the tension. "Marcus DeCroix," Damon said when he reached the table. "It's been a long time." Marcus struggled to find his voice. "Damon, you're alive? Disappointed? I know you've been living quite well off my death. Built quite an empire on the ashes of our partnership, didn't you?" The cameras were rolling, closing in from every angle. This was what Damon wanted, to expose him publicly, to destroy not just his business, but his reputation. "You faked your death," Marcus whispered. "I had to disappear before you completely destroyed me," Damon replied loudly, performing for the cameras. "You stole from our restaurant, blocked every opportunity for growth, and then tried to frame me for your own crimes. Lies. All lies." But Marcus could see how it would play to an audience that didn't know the real story. "That's not what happened," Marcus said weakly. "Isn't it? Because I have evidence, old friend. 7 years' worth of evidence about what you really are." Before Marcus could respond, chaos erupted around them. The timing was too perfect to be coincidental. It started in the kitchen. Through the service window, Marcus could see his head chef, Roberto, suddenly shouting at one of the line cooks. "You worthless piece of garbage!" Roberto screamed. "Can't you do anything right? Get out of my kitchen!" But this wasn't the Roberto that Marcus knew, the calm, professional chef who never raised his voice. A server burst through the kitchen doors carrying a steaming bowl of soup. Marcus watched in horror as the young woman deliberately stumbled near table 12, sending the bowl flying. The soup splashed across the businessman's laptop. "Oh my God!" the woman shrieked. "I'm so sorry. The kitchen, they're serving raw chicken in the soup." The businessman began retching dramatically. "I ate some of that. I think I'm going to be sick." Other diners turned to stare. Marcus could see the cameras capturing every horrified expression. At table 6, a woman suddenly began clutching her throat. "I can't breathe. Something in the sauce. I'm allergic." Her companion began shouting. "She's having an allergic reaction. This restaurant is trying to kill people." More servers appeared, but instead of trained professionals, these seemed incompetent and panicked. One dropped a tray of glasses. Another began arguing with a customer. Marcus could see more chaos in the kitchen. Someone had deliberately overturned a pot of sauce. Food was being dropped, orders were being mixed up. His phone buzzed. A notification from social media. Someone was live streaming the chaos, and the viewer count was climbing rapidly. 20,000 viewers and climbing, Damon said, checking his phone. "By tomorrow morning, every food blogger and news outlet in the country will be talking about this. Your reputation, your empire, gone." Jennifer appeared at Marcus's elbow. She leaned down, whispering urgently. "The kitchen staff you see aren't yours. Roberto's locked in the office upstairs. Most of your regular servers were told they had the night off. These people, they're all actors." Marcus felt relief. His real staff hadn't betrayed him. But that was quickly replaced by horror as he realized the scope of Damon's plan. Another customer near the bar began complaining loudly about finding a cockroach in her food. "This is unacceptable. Where's the health department?" Marcus watched his life's work crumble, broadcast live to thousands of viewers. Damon leaned closer. "The beautiful thing about the internet, Marcus, is that nobody cares about the truth. They just want a good show. And you're about to become the most hated restaurateur in America." For a moment, Marcus felt crushing defeat. But then something shifted inside him. He wasn't the naive young man who trusted Damon blindly. He'd learned to read people, to spot deception, to think strategically under pressure. "You know what's funny about elaborate schemes?" Marcus said quietly, leaning back with a calmness that clearly surprised Damon. "They require a lot of moving parts. And the more parts you have, the more chances there are for things to go wrong." Damon's smile faltered. What are you talking about? Marcus pulled out his phone. Well, for starters, you made a mistake with the allergic reaction lady. See, I know every supplier we use, every ingredient in every dish. That woman claimed she was allergic to something in our seafood sauce, but we don't serve seafood on Fridays. Haven't for 3 years. Changed the menu after my sous chef developed a shellfish allergy. Uncertainty flickered across Damon's face. And Roberto screaming in the kitchen. Marcus continued. Roberto's been mute since a car accident 2 years ago. He communicates through hand signals and writing. The man you have back there? That's not my head chef. Marcus began typing on his phone. You see, Damon, you've been watching me for 7 years, but you haven't been watching my business. You're working with outdated information. You're bluffing, Damon said, but his voice had lost confidence. Am I? I just sent a message to Sarah Chin at Channel 7 News. She's been trying to get an exclusive interview with me for months. Turns out she's very interested in a story about an elaborate fraud being perpetrated at my restaurant by a man who faked his own death 7 years ago. Damon's face went pale. You can't prove that. Actually, I can. See, I never quite believed you were dead. Call it intuition, but I hired a private investigator 5 years ago. Took him 2 years, but he found you. Did you know you've been running similar operations across the country? Portland, Seattle, Denver, always targeting successful restaurants, always using the same playbook. The chaos around them seemed to quiet. I have photos of you in Seattle, receipts from the equipment rental companies you've used, bank records showing payments to actors. I even have recordings of you bragging about your restaurant takedown business to potential investors. Marcus leaned forward. But here's the really beautiful part, Damon. While you were setting up your cameras and hiring your actors, I was setting up my own little surprise. He gestured toward the kitchen where the real Roberto had just appeared in the service window, looking confused but unharmed. Jennifer texted me the moment you walked in, Marcus continued. She recognized you from the old photos I keep in my office. Did you really think I wouldn't have contingency plans? Damon looked around the room, starting to notice the cracks in his perfect plan. The live stream comments were beginning to shift as viewers pointed out the inconsistencies. You're lying, Damon said weakly. The beauty of live streaming, Marcus said, standing slowly, is that it works both ways. While your audience was watching what they thought was my restaurant falling apart, my audience was watching something else entirely. He held up his phone, showing the screen to the nearest camera. This is the real live stream, broadcasting from cameras I had installed after your little anonymous tip 3 weeks ago. It's been recording everything, your actors, your fake staff, your elaborate setup. And it's been broadcasting to a very different audience. Marcus could see the moment Damon realized he'd been outmaneuvered. 27,000 viewers and climbing, Marcus said. They're watching a master class in attempted fraud. And the best part, every single one of your co-conspirators is on camera. In the distance, Marcus could hear sirens approaching. Did I mention I also called the FBI? The sirens were getting closer. Damon's face had gone from confident to desperate to something approaching genuine terror. The actors were beginning to edge toward the exits. You're bluffing, Damon said again, his voice cracking. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus said, addressing the room, I want to apologize for the disruption to your evening. What you've witnessed tonight is an elaborate fraud being perpetrated by a man who faked his own death 7 years ago. The fake customers were starting to panic. The real diners looked confused but intrigued. My name is Marcus Decre, and this is my restaurant. The man sitting at my table is Damon Cross, my former business partner who has spent the last 7 years running a criminal enterprise targeting restaurants across the country. Damon shot to his feet. Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Marcus pulled out a tablet. This is footage from Seattle, March 2023. That's you, Damon, paying actors to disrupt Pier 47 Seafood. They went out of business 3 weeks later. The tablet screen showed clear video of Damon handing envelopes to people who looked suspiciously similar to some of the customers tonight. And this? Marcus swiped to another video. Is from Denver, August 2023. The Copper Kettle. Same playbook, same result. A family restaurant destroyed by manufactured scandal. Damon lunged forward trying to grab the tablet, but Marcus stepped smoothly aside. You see, Marcus said to the cameras, Damon's been running what he calls reputation management, destroying successful restaurants and then offering to help their competitors for a substantial fee. He's not seeking justice. He's a predator who preys on hardworking business owners. The restaurant's front doors burst open and FBI agents flooded in, badges visible and weapons drawn. Damon Cross, the lead agent called out. You're under arrest for wire fraud, conspiracy, extortion, and about a dozen other charges we've been building against you for the past 6 months. Damon's face went white. 6 months? He whispered. Marcus smiled. Did I forget to mention? The FBI has been investigating your operations since Denver. They just needed someone to catch you in the act. Someone willing to play bait. The truth hit Damon like a physical blow. The anonymous email. That was you. Guilty as charged, Marcus said. Though I have to say, you made it almost too easy. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize your writing style after 15 years of partnership? As the handcuffs clicked around Damon's wrists, he looked at Marcus with something between hatred and admiration. You son of a, this was all a setup. The best kind, Marcus replied. The kind where the bad guy sets himself up. The lead FBI agent stepped forward. Mr. DeCroix, thank you for your cooperation. Your evidence was crucial in building our case. Marcus nodded, then turned to address the cameras one final time. To everyone watching, both on Mr. Cross's stream and on mine, this is what real accountability looks like. Not manufactured outrage, not fake scandals, but actual justice for actual crimes. He gestured to Jennifer. Jennifer, would you please comp everyone's meals tonight? I think we've given our real customers quite enough entertainment for one evening. As the FBI led Damon away, he called out one last time. This won't save you, Marcus. People will still remember this night. You're right, Marcus replied calmly. They'll remember the night a deceased man came back to life, tried to destroy an innocent business, and got exactly what he deserved. The live stream comments were exploding with support for Marcus. #JusticeForMeridian was already trending, but as Marcus watched Damon disappear into the police car outside, he felt no satisfaction, only deep sadness. 7 years of guilt. 7 years of building his success on what he thought was his friend's grave. 7 years of wondering if he could have done something different. The truth had set him free, but some scars run too deep to ever fully heal. Jennifer approached quietly. Boss, what now? Marcus looked around his restaurant, his real restaurant with his real staff, serving real food to people who trusted him. Despite everything, it was still beautiful. Now we go back to work, he said. And maybe next time someone sends me an anonymous email, I'll just delete it. But even as he said it, Marcus knew he wouldn't. Because sometimes facing the truth, no matter how painful, is the only way to truly move forward. The cameras finally stopped rolling, but the real story was just beginning.